What's going on, Tar Heel Nation? It is your favorite North Carolinian, Russ, the Tar Heel man. What's going on, guys? It's been a while. It has been a while since we've done a live stream. It's been a while since we did a call-in show, and I'm actually kind of looking forward to this, man. Looking forward to chopping it up with you guys. I know that it's like 2 stinking weeks after the season, Carolina season at least, has expired. But tons of stuff going on in life, man. Trying to make everything happen, and we're stinking back, bro. Talk about some basketball. So just to give you guys a little rundown of what's going to transpire, dude. I'm going to give you guys a couple of my personal opinions and thoughts on this previous season. We'll talk about some guys that left, some guys that are coming in. We'll look at the roster as a whole moving forward, and maybe even talking about, any remaining targets that North Carolina as a basketball program might be entertaining in the future, or are they stinking done? But we'll try to get through this, man, as quickly as possible, maybe an hour, hour and a half. Then I'll open it up. It won't be that long before I open up the call in and portion and everything. And then I want to hear what you guys have to say pertaining to this North Carolina program, man. So, first and foremost, and y'all bear with me, man. It's been a while, so your boy's a little stinking rusty, man. And we'll do some shout outs real quick. Stephen Rumsey in the house, man. Good to see you. Chicken David James, my man, stinking Preston, Brett Weeks, Big Cush is in the house. Pete, good to see you, my friend. We got Robert Summers in here and Scott Mitchell, man. And if you get a chance, man, do me a favor. Let me know down in the comment section where you guys are hanging out from, man. And because I really want to know the cool thing about this whole setup is the fact that you get Tar Heels from all over the Dagum Nation, man, and we get to talk Carolina basketball. And so I don't think that there's too many other shows out there that have this call-in portion where Tar Heel fans can come together and they can kind of chop it up, and your opinion is also able to get out there too, man. So that's one of the cool things that I like about this, and I appreciate you guys hanging out. We got 19 in the house right now. So let's go ahead over here, man, to we'll look at North Carolina's season as a whole. 23-14, Preston with the stinking 20, man. I'll get you up there on the leaderboard as soon as possible. Preston, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for the generosity, my friend. With the perfect comment, Duke, spelled absolutely properly, Dook, all lowercase, said Duke stinks, man. 100 stinking %, man. So Carolina finishes the season 23-14. That's year 4 of Hubert Davis, and obviously that is not the standard that we've become accustomed to as North Carolina fans, right? Three out of 4 years, bubble team. We have made the tournament 3 of those 4 years. Obviously, we all believe that Carolina should make the tournament every single year. It shouldn't even be something that we have to, sit there and bite our nails about every daggone week. 1999 from my man Pete. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for your generosity. Carlton in the stinking house, man. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Hope you're doing well, Carlton. I tried to get up with you on the Discord, man, and for some reason I'm having some issues. So you might have to reach back out to me, Carlton. You know that I'm not the tech savvy guy. But 23-14, man. Carolina does not finish the way that we would all anticipate a North Carolina program finishing year in and year out. And there were plenty of stinking downs this season, if you will. I think that's one of the most amounts of losses that a North Carolina team has had in the history of their program. I'd have to go back. I should have had this pulled up, man. I knew this a while back. But that's a ton of L's, man, for the University of North Carolina. And there's no other way to frame it except that it's unacceptable, right? We as a program are above going 23-14 and being a bubble team. Now, this year we kind of we started out for all intents and purposes, man, thinking as positively as possible. We knew that HD was going to go small. We weren't able to get a big, and I think everybody was kind of wait and see mode. At least me. I know there was a lot of guys that, did not like the roster setup from the beginning. And to their credit, they called it because it was something that 100% played a factor, especially early in the season and towards the midsection of the season. Carolina just didn't have the size to match up. They didn't have the size, they didn't have the beef down low, man. And we missed Armando Baycott bad, and not getting a big in the portal was absolutely huge. And I think one could even say that it's pretty impressive to a certain extent that we're even able to scratch out 23 wins with how this roster was put together. And hopefully there are some lessons learned moving forward. And, I think that maybe that happened in the middle of the season. Um, as far as North Carolina, HD understanding when he went a little bit bigger and Carolina started to be more successful towards the latter stages of the season. I think we can all attest to the fact that right here, man, in ACC play, it was looking bleak, dude. I mean, we had so many close stinking daggone basketball games, and every night it was just nail biter after nail biter. And then the Clemson game kind of came to a head. That's when it was just like an absolute low point. I think most of us had kind of given up hope for the most part about actually getting a stinking NCAA tournament invite. And then Carolina went on a little stinking run, right? Jay Witt kind of turned up, man, got introduced back into the starting lineup. I was a huge critic of him at the beginning of the season, and to his credit, he played fantastic down the stretch for large portions. Obviously, aside from the Duke game at home, man, that was a pretty unfortunate situation. But Carolina strung together enough wins to edge their way into the tournament. And, I think that they deserve to get into the tournament the way that they finished. A lot of people, obviously, that was a very controversial topic. But once again, we should not be at the point to where we are at season's end, 3 out of the last 4 years, wondering if we're going to be, well, not 3 out of the 4. Yeah, basically 3 out of the last 4. If we're going to get into the tournament, 2 of those years we got in, one of them we didn't. And obviously we have, last year, which Carolina was a 1 seed and HD was the Atlantic Coast Conference Coach of the Year, the year prior to last year now. So we got to do better than 23-14. Now, the question is how is the roster going to shake up? So I want to talk about the fact that Elliot Cadeau obviously left for Michigan. And I'm going to give you guys some personal thoughts on that. EC was obviously a 5-star prospect. He came to UNC 1 year early, and we had extremely high hopes for Elliot Cadeau. And Elliot Cadeau had a very high ceiling, especially offensively. I'm probably going to ruffle some feathers here, but personally, I started to have questions whether EC was the type of guard, the type of point guard, that could get Carolina back to elite. And that's just being completely honest with you. I understand he was a 5-star out of high school. I get that. I understand that he had a huge upside, especially offensively. However, the turnovers coupled with his inability to really lock in on the defensive end of the floor, and then that just got magnified by Carolina not having a big when they were just blowing by him and getting into the paint. When EC decided to leave, I had mixed emotions about it because obviously I want the kid to do well, and I hope that he does do well when he gets to Michigan, obviously, unless he plays against North Carolina. But I wasn't necessarily just distraught to see him go because I really don't know if he has the ability to become a Ty Lawson, a Raymond Felton, even a guy like Marcus Page. I didn't see necessarily that leadership aspect in him. I'm just letting you know what Russ the Tar Heel thinks, man. Hate me if you want to, but I'm just keeping it a buck with you about what I think about the situation. So maybe it's one of those things where he needed to go somewhere else. Maybe he takes on that leadership role. Maybe that enables him to become a better point guard and, to do great things. Who knows, man? Now, obviously, it was a little shaky here for a while because we are wondering when is Carolina going to get their point guard, and we'll talk about that later. That whole situation, but not necessarily the worst thing in the world as far as I'm concerned. That I think both parties potentially decided to part ways. One of the surprising things is that Ian Jackson is in the portal. Now, obviously, he played out of position a ton. Okay, he played the 3, the 4 a lot in that small ball scenario with HD. And, I think that, coupled with a couple of other things, that was kind of the turning point for him. I don't know if, we don't know if he's going to come back. We don't know. There's thoughts of him going to St. John's. I've heard people talk about him going to Arkansas. And I've even heard people talk about him leveraging the portal because, he wants to get paid a little bit more to come back and, maybe even possibly going to the National Basketball Association. Who knows? We really don't know what Ian's going to do. I would really love Ian Jackson to come back because I think he can benefit from a second year, and I think he's the 2 guard that we really need. Because as I'm going to talk about later, and me and Lovey and a couple of other different individuals inside of the Discord, we've talked about this, man. One of the things that worries me with the roster makeup that we have right now is I think that we're going to be an incredibly good defensive team. But I am, my antennas are going up a little bit about as far as, who is going to score the basketball. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I think that Ian Jackson returning would be huge because he's an obvious scorer. And, if he doesn't, then we're going to have to find that from other places. That remains to be seen. Somebody may take that leap. But I do think that the Ian Jackson news hurts a little bit. And another thing that hurts about it is the fact that now you have 2 5-stars who have decided to leave the program. Now, when you come in here and you look at Carolina's overall recruiting class right now, it looks pretty good. Top 5 recruiting class, right? But, and this is just personally me, I couldn't help but notice, these numbers right here. Houston, 3 5-stars. Duke, 4 5-stars. UConn, 3 5-stars. Kentucky, 3. Then you have North Carolina with 1. BYU, of all places, 2. Arizona, 3. Michigan, 2. So, and this is obviously Carolina's incoming freshmen along with the transfers that are coming in. But you can see once again, man, and I think it's a topic worth having, is we've got some quality basketball players. But one of the things that we're not, for whatever reason, I don't even know if you can say bringing in, because we had Ian Jackson and Drake Powell come in. It's the manifestation of these guys being superstars like we saw from North Carolina in the, mid 2000s, late 2000s, all the way up until, the early 2010s. We're just not seeing that for some reason. I don't know where that disconnect is. But that is just one of the things that I've noticed. Now, when you look at Nick with the 199, what's up, Nick? Good to see you, man. And I'll get to some questions here in a second, man. So if you guys have questions, leave them in there. And I promise you, I will open it up in just a second so you don't have to continue to hear me stinking yapping. I just want to get this stuff off my chest, man. So Carolina's got the 5th overall ranked class, the 13th overall transfer class, and you got 2 combo guards coming in with Isaiah Dennis and Derek Dixon. For all intents and purposes, we've heard that these guys can shoot. Carolina needs perimeter shooting. And so that remains to be seen, obviously, when you're talking about 4 stars coming in and getting the job done. So it'll be interesting to see how these guys fit in to the scheme. Caleb Wilson is obviously the crown jewel of the class. He was a huge get. I think that he is going to be tremendous on the defensive side of the floor. The question, with him for me right now is his ability to score, right, from that power forward position, which he may very well be able to do. He may be able to turn it on, but I think it's something that we're going to have to look at. Is his ability to, score whether it be mid-range, getting to the bucket, et cetera, et cetera. Great athlete, got great length, man. 6'9" as a freshman. He's just going to continue to grow. So I'm really excited to see Caleb Wilson and what he can do for North Carolina next year. Now, the transfers that are coming in, I think these are obviously huge. And we'll start with, Henry Visar. The simple fact of the matter is it's been a while since Carolina's had a legitimate 7-footer. Armando Bacot was listed at 6'11", but a legitimate 7 foot. And my guy can protect the rim. When he stinking dunks, bro, he dunks it stinking hard. And we finally have a post presence that you have to take into consideration, even if the guards aren't playing necessarily great defense, at the top of the key. Henry is there to protect the rim, and this was something that we absolutely needed. And I would say that he is, arguably the biggest get in the portal for Carolina, man. Just having that body down low, man. 7 foot, 235 pounds. And he averaged 9.4 points per game, 5 boards, 1.3 assists, 59.2% from the floor. And I think this guy is going to be a huge, huge net positive for the North Carolina Tar Heels. Let me get back to my stinking page right here. Jonathan Powell was actually the first one to commit, 6'6", 191. One of the things that HC talked about was we had to get bigger, right? We had to get bigger. We had to get taller. We had to get more length. And this guy can play defense too. Now, one of the things I alluded to in one of the earlier videos was the fact that, he's not really a guy that puts the ball on the floor per se. Jonathan Powell he can stroke it. I think he was second in the Big 12 and made threes for a freshman, and he played 30 minutes per game. And you can see that right here. 8.3 points per game, 3.1 boards, less than an assist, shot 37.8% from the field, and but he did shoot 35.2% from three. So the hope is that Jonathan Powell can come in, improve upon that 3-point percentage, and he can provide that perimeter shooting that North Carolina desperately needs. Now, I do believe that he's going to be more of a piece as opposed to, a guy that's going to be in the starting lineup maybe occasionally. But I think this is a really good glue guy, that may very well come off the bench. But that also remains to be seen. And then you have Kyan Evans, man. Now, most of you guys know I was really big on the Xavier Lee train. I thought that the guy had the swag that Carolina probably needed. And Kyan Evans ends up committing to North Carolina. Now, I don't think that this is bad by any means necessary. 6'2", 175. Should be a junior next year. 10.6 points per game, 2.9 boards, 3.1 assists, and he shot 47.1% from the floor. He also shot 44.6% from three, which is absolutely stinking huge, man. From, a guy that's arguably going to be your stinking one. And then when you lose RJ, he's 85.2% from the free throw line. And he really came on late as far as, his scoring prowess, if you will. I think it was like maybe 10 games into the season, they introduced him into the starting lineup. And he kind of ran that Colorado State engine as they made their run through the NCAA tournament. And then they ran into the Terps. And, Maryland just made an unbelievable play. Or, Kyan may have still been playing for, the Rams. I think that this is a very interesting pickup because when you watch Evans play, and I've heard some people kind of compare him to Kendall Marshall because he's not a burner, right? He's not gonna be Ty Lawson down the floor. He's not gonna beat a whole bunch of people down the floor. But his court vision, his ability to get the ball ahead off the break, running that secondary break, and then obviously his ability to shoot, are going to bring maybe some stability. I think maybe that's one of the best things that I can, talk about his game, right? EC occasionally was, not occasionally, I would say very often, was, I'm trying to think of the best word. The best word, right, is not necessarily careless all the time, but everything was just wow. Um, I don't think that that's really what Cayenne brings to the table. He brings stability, right? He's going to run the offense. He's going to, uh, you know, knock down his shots when he has his opportunities. And if he can be anywhere around 44.6% from deep, man, that is absolutely huge. I mean, he's going to pull the trigger, man. He's got a nice little stroke, dude. And, this could be the stability that the North Carolina offense needs. Now, once again, you know, not really a guy that's going to push the pace. He's he's not going to run up and down the floor. And I think that that's a little interesting because I kind of thought that that may be the area that Carolina needed to get to in order to get back to that elite level. That should be the expectation every year. But we shall see. So, you know, those are the three guys that Carolina's brought in right now. I would imagine that obviously one of the things that they're really trying to do at this point is we want to retain Drake Powell, who obviously is a tremendous defensive player, great guy. Just to have in the locker room in general, hard player, and he started to really become a threat from deep, as well as his season progressed. So we really want to retain Drake Powell, and you're starting to kind of see how this team is going to be much bigger. One, um, but could be pretty formidable, especially from the defensive side of the floor. My main concern right now is where does the offense come from? Consistently. If we're going to be scoring in the, upper 70s, lower 80s, this year we averaged, I think, 80.7 points per game, which was 30th, 29th, 30th in the country. If we're trying to elevate that and remain an offensive powerhouse, where is the scoring going to come from? The consistent stinking scoring. So that's kind of how I'm looking at the beginning stages of what we're moving forward into. And this is a huge year for Hubert Davis. I really think that he needs to he's got to have some success this year and some legitimate success. Not being on the bubble. I think that we need like a 2023-2024 year in order for Tar Heel Nation to kind of like feel a little bit better about the situation, and like the trajectory of where the program is going. But with that being said, man, I really do. I want to know what Tar Heel Nation thinks about this past season. Let me know what you think about the guys that Carolina's brought in. Maybe some misses, maybe some concerns. I really want to gauge the temperature of how you guys are feeling about this program because I think that it can go a ton of different ways, man. I really do. I think that it can go a ton of different ways. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a ton of different opinions. So do me a favor, man. When you call in 919-590-3514, let me know. We'll try to keep it, between 5 and 10 minutes, man, so we can get as many people in here so that they can voice their opinion as possible. And I really want to know what you guys think about this program. Are we heading in the right direction? Do you think that the new GM Tanner? Do you think that his presence has assisted in the guys that we've brought into the from the portal? I think these are all topics that are interesting to discuss because a lot of people were upset that we didn't have a general manager last year, and now we have one, and we're bringing in 7 footers. Jonathan Powell, arguably a good freshman shooter from the outside, and then Kyan Evans, and we had a decent recruiting class. So the phone lines should be open, man. Let me make sure. Hold on. Make sure phone lines should be open. So 919-590-3514. I want to hear what you have to say, Tar Heel Nation, about the trajectory of this team. And we got one, man. You were on the phone with Russ of Tar Heel. Who am I speaking to?
What's up, Russ? It's Preston. How you doing?
Oh, my favorite, man. What's up, Press? How you doing, brother?
I just sitting here listening to the show.
I
Thought
appreciate
I'd
you, man.
call in.
So what
So,
you think, brother?
last year, all right. So last year, I think we all kind of figured we had a hole in the roster. I mean, of course, Jay Wash didn't pan out like we'd hoped he would. I was scared of that, but this year so far, they've got a pretty good complete roster so far, and there's still more to come. So, I'm not saying they're going to be a championship team, but there's just no hole like there was last year down low. So with like the point guard they got, we need scores. That's my problem with this team so far. 3-point shooters. The point guard seems like he can probably hit it. I don't know about at sea level. He did it in the mountains. And then the big guys, I don't think they can shoot it, but I think they're looking for pick and pop four still.
Mm-hmm.
And that Powell kid from West Virginia, maybe he's going to be a good shooter. But defensively, especially if Drake Powell comes back, man, I'm loving that.
Yeah.
If we can get Drake Powell back, I'll be happy.
Right. Right. I agree. I agree. So let me ask you this, Press. Let me ask you this. Starting five right now with what you've got, who do you think you have as your starting five at this point?
Lordy, so we're going to have Evans at point guard,
Right.
and we're going to have the 7-footer from Arizona down low.
Right.
Now I love Lubin, but I think we're going to give
Caleb
who is it,
Wilson.
the freshman Wilson
Yep.
a chance, and then Trimble. Now I love Trimble's game. Lovey told me he couldn't shoot threes. And I didn't believe him, but he was right.
Right.
If that's who I think's going to turn the corner. I mean, we're going to miss RJ, but with RJ and Ian Jackson gone, Trimble, that's who I'm looking at. He's going to be the number 2, I think.
Okay.
And 3, I'm hoping it's Drake Powell, but if it's not Drake Powell, I guess it's probably going to be
Duke
the
stinks.
Powell kid from West Virginia. But
Right.
I really don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think Drake is obviously a lock at the 3 if he returns. I do think that there's legitimate. There's a couple of guys that can move into that 2 spot. And that's kind of one of the areas where I'm a little hesitant to really ink somebody in. And I agree with you. I think that the Kyan Evans kid, definitely has the ability to be a formidable shooter from the outside. Um, but I mean, is he a guy that can kind of take over the game? I know that he had 23 in the first round, and he's had some good scoring outputs, but I think it remains to be seen if he's you know up to that level, if you know what I mean. And so I think we
I
got
agree with you.
a bunch of quality guys. We got a bunch of quality guys, but do we have like definitively that stinking guy? And
No, we don't. And so, I
right,
mean, last year we had R.J. Davis and at times Ian Jackson, and those were the superstars or stars. We got a bunch of good glue guys now. Now, I will
right,
say this about Evans. He came on towards the end, and I'll say this about I can't say the guy's name, the 7-footer from Arizona.
Besar.
He came on at the end,
Yes.
and I like that. I
Mm-hmm.
like that they started playing better towards the end of the year, and hopefully that'll you know, translate to this year or coming up
Right.
to next year. But
Right.
but of course, last year I thought Cade Tyson was going to come in and be fantastic. So
You think he
what do I
stays?
know?
You think Cade stays?
Yeah, I think he stays,
Think he
but I
stays?
I don't
Yeah.
think he'll get much play.
Not a lot of burn. Yeah.
I hope
Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong. Hope I'm wrong. I hope he is what we thought he was going to be last year. I
Yeah.
just don't see it until I see it.
Right. Until I see it. Yeah. 100%, brother.
But
100%,
like
man.
you said, I've always thought you need to have 3 stars and a bunch of glue guys,
Hmm.
and I just don't see the star power on this team as it is now. These guys could come in and become stars,
Right.
but I think they'll be a good, solid team, an easy. I don't want to say easy NCAA tournament team,
Right. Right.
but I think uh, they don't have a hole in the roster like they did last year,
And I agree with
and
that. I agree with that. And maybe even press, maybe even just a little bit more depth. Um, especially if those two combo guards can come in and give us a couple of good minutes. Um, maybe they're a little bit deeper. And that obviously, that remains to be seen. I do think that it's got the capability of being a legitimate top 25 team. I think that it's got that kind of makeup. It's just, is it that elite roster that we should be expecting every year at North Carolina? And so,
yeah, and that's yet to be seen. Now, this team's going to need to rebound and play defense
right,
if these guys can't shoot. But but they've got the tools to do that if everything comes together.
right,
Yeah, that's a big lot of ifs, but I feel better about this team's composition than I did last year's team composition. Other than RJ, I mean, I think we were all counting on RJ Davis just replicating his year from before, where he just threw up everything that went in
right,
over every single game. And surely somebody else is going to step up too. Well, it didn't really happen like
right.
that the whole
Exactly.
year.
Yeah.
They started playing pretty well at the end, but who knows? But anyway, that's my 2 cents for what it's worth. Probably not even 2 cents, but
Well, I
good to
appreciate you,
talk to you
Preston.
again, Russ.
It's good to talk to you too, brother. All
All
right,
right,
brother.
take
I
it easy,
appreciate
guys.
you, man. Yes, sir.
Bye.
My man, stinking Preston, man. Yeah, and I think that that's the legitimate concern for a lot of us. And Carlton alluded to it a little bit earlier. In the system that HD is trying to implement, you've got to have guys that can shoot. And if we can find some shooters, man, if we got some guys that can knock down fairly consistently the outside shot, that's going to open up things down low for guys like Vsar, for guys like Caleb Wilson and Vin Allen Lubin. You're on the phone with Russ. Who am I speaking to?
Hey man, it's Ryan Ivy.
Oh, my guy Ryan. What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. What's going on?
I'm hanging in there, brother. Good to hear from you, man. What's going on, Ryan?
I don't know if it's a hot take, but I feel like I've been trying to figure out, you know, what's looking different the way we're approaching roster construction this year versus last year, and kind of what has Jim Tanner's fingerprints on it versus not, right?
Hmm.
And then what you were saying in the opening got me thinking kind of about like, how like the state of North Carolina basketball and not getting and not retaining like 5 stars, right?
Right.
And what I think is happening is I won't call it a decline because that's too dramatic, but it's obvious that like we definitely have a lot more competition from SEC schools and the UConns and all that. And I think some of that is because HD's kind of philosophy for the guys he was looking for, both quantitative and kind of qualitative, right? Like character stuff. And I think that he has not been able to develop the players because he's focused too much on some of the off court stuff when it comes to evaluating players before they even get in the door. And
Hmm.
then once he gets them in the door, it's like, all right, let's look at the team we got and let's figure out how to work with these guys. And by the time that happens, it's obviously like we're 10 games in the ACC play, and then you see what happened this year, right?
Right.
But I think what happened is like Jim Tanner came in, from everything I'm hearing, like Jim Tanner came in with a plan, and it maybe he had like an A plan, a B plan, and a C plan. And given where North Carolina's name is, like I think I mentioned this in the Discord, right? Like um, a lot of agents that we had reached out to were saying things like Carolina's brand is stale, is dead, stuff like that. And I think that this Jim Tanner's job is to come has and he's I think he's done a great job because it's like, if we're not, Alabama or Auburn right now in terms of the way the agents and players are looking at us, like we just have to be where we're at. And I
Mm,
think, you're seeing with how we've gotten guards that and players that aren't like stars, but like they're good guys, and they fit a roster that I think, HD can work with well. I think he kind of lucked out in the way that Harrison Ingram and Cormac Ryan worked out and got us, a one seed. But
right.
this has been much more methodical, and I think it's the right setup so that HD can hopefully shine. Now, the other thing I'll say is like the thing that we didn't have last year, obviously, was size, but we also like didn't have, dogs, as they say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at, the tape on these guys that we're bringing in and like the fire that they bring, like I feel like I see that in this
Okay.
team, or I see that potential, and I think like that ability for the team to lead itself, because that's something that HD said all like so many times last year. Like it was such a quiet team, like he was waiting for someone to kind of take the reins, and I feel like this team is going to be a lot more vocal. I'm expecting Seth to now be in like a more off-court leadership role, and
Okay.
we've seen the emotion that he can have. So I don't know, man. Yeah, we don't have a ton of like, we didn't get Xavier and Lee or anybody that really jumps off the page except for Vasar, I guess. But like, I think this team can scrap, and I think that I agree that I'm looking around the perimeter and I'm like, who's going to put the ball in the bucket when we absolutely need a bucket? But at the same time, like this is a really good defensive team, and if they can get out and run in transition, which is another thing I'm concerned about with the pace of play at some of these where some of these guys are coming from,
Right.
that in and of itself could, create, and then you have just again the roster construction, right? Like if we have that 7 footer that, we can dump it down and that creates better spacing,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe it's there for us. So that's
Yeah.
kind of where I'm at with it all.
Okay. So you think Rye that this is going to be has the potential to be a scrappier team with maybe some better leadership from on the floor, and maybe even off the court, maybe some more vocal guys because I definitely see that with Visar. I mean, when you watch that guy, um, when he's dunking, man, I mean he's dunking with authority, which
Yeah.
is what you would expect, right? That's what we need. We need somebody to bring the stinking fire. Um, and so I think that's 100% a huge piece. But like you said, I keep going back to the perimeter, and who's gonna dribble drive and penetrate and get him, the oop. Who's gonna give him the nice easy dump down because he blew past his defender, at the top of the key. And I just think that's one of those things that we're gonna have to see, man. It's kind of crazy to think about, but this may be, a team that is defense first. At least kind of the lineup that I kind of see off the jump. Maybe we're not putting up 80 points per game, and I think that that's going to be a very interesting thing to look at. As this offseason goes, and whoever we can possibly pick up, additionally in the portal, man. But yeah, it's I think it's going to be a very different team than this year. And I think that you can probably point out a lot more positives than negatives. So I think we could agree on that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, there was everyone kind of freaks out when we don't get the very top center, the very top PG, like our very first target. But at this, like I said, I think that based on what we put on tape last year and some question marks swirling around, like you have to be where your feet are,
Hmm.
And
I like it.
I think from a realistic standpoint, like we picked up guys that were, at least our second option in a lot of cases, and ultimately guys that I feel like Jim Tanner and the team like evaluated as puzzle pieces, not necessarily just as star power. And then like particularly for Evans, like I mean he made a ton of threes. Like he refused the ball screens at the top of the key, or would like use them and would just drain open threes from the top of the key all the time.
Right.
And I feel like we've gotten so used to expecting our guards to dart past people because that's the advantage they had. But like at the same time, like when you have a 7 footer down low that can clean up the trash, like maybe we even if we're not filling it up, like I would expect that our offensive rebounding and second chance points are going to be a lot better. The opportunities are going to be a lot better than they were last year too. So
Touche.
Obviously, I would love to be, efficient from three as possible, but at the same time, like defense and rebounding have to play a factor too, you know?
Right. Right. 100%, brother. 100%, man. I like it. I like it, Rye. I like it, man.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, I'll get out of here. That's my piece. I'm
I
gonna go
appreciate
practice
you, brother.
guitar.
All right, man. All right, brother. I appreciate you,
All
man.
right.
All right, Rye.
All right. Bye.
My man, Ryan Ivy, man. I'm going to the Duke game with him next year. I'm still holding you to it, Rye. I forgot to tell you while we were on the phone. Still holding you to it, man. Me and you, front row seats. Let's sit behind the Duke bench, dude. We'll have a good time. So yeah, man. I mean, it's gonna be a different team, and I do think that there are far more positives that you can point to with the makeup of the roster. Is it, you know, 2005, 2009? No, but you know, this could be that building block to getting to where we want to get. What's up, Dennis?
What's happening, man?
What's going on, brother? Talk to me, Goose.
I'm honestly, man. I'm looking at this North Carolina team differently.
Okay.
I believe that Hubert Davis has had enough of this offense that he's ran. The construction of this team is being constructed with a front line that could possibly be the best front line in the country. Carolina is gonna get back to offensive rebounding and having a shot blocker and having players that can guard in the post. I really believe that. I'm looking at probably the best front line in the country, and I think the leader is going to end up being our X factor that we didn't have this year, that was an enforcer. And I think if Zayden High comes back, he creates some of that dog on the team. I really do believe that.
That's somebody I forgot to mention, because he's still kind of we don't know what's going to happen with Zayden yet, right? I think we've heard him around the program. We knew that it was just supposed to be 1 year. I can't imagine him going anywhere else, assuming that he's still going to continue to play basketball. So I would imagine he's going to be on the roster, and that is one of the guys that we haven't talked about, man. So I'm glad you brought him up.
And he can shoot the three ball. He can play probably two different positions, possibly three on the floor. I see this team. If you look, for example, you look at Vin. He is actually, if you go back and watch him at Vanderbilt, he is not a post. He faces up, and then he'll take you off the dribble, or he'll shoot the 15, 16 foot jump shot.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets to go back to his natural position. Now he's got a center. Now we've got another 6'9", 6'10". Now the North Carolina's team has become so much bigger lengthwise.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous. If you just look at who we have right now, we're not going to have. I wish him well, but we're not going to have an Elliot Cadeau doing some of the stuff, the antics that he does. You're going to have players that are going to take you to the basket, get downhill, and actually come back down and play defense.
Yeah. I mean, and actually get down and play some defense on the other end. That's a good point, Dennis. That's a good point, man.
I really do believe that you're going to see North Carolina pound the ball inside this year, and we're going to get people in foul trouble. And the thing that I like about the kid from Arizona, Vin Lubin, and even the freshman and Zayden High, they are all fairly good passers out of the post.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I like. I think we're going to see North Carolina not jacking up threes, but if the three's there, they're going to take it. You're going to see North Carolina get back to pounding the ball in the post.
Well, that would be a breath of absolute fresh air. if we literally started working inside out again, I think obviously, just like you alluded to, only good things can happen, right? You got a whole bunch of big bodies down there. You get the team in foul trouble, and now they're having to collapse down the defense, and now you're getting open jumpers. So
Right.
yeah, I mean that's one of the big reasons why Henry Visar, coming to North Carolina was huge. Having guys like Caleb Wilson that can, battle down low is huge. Zayden High, bringing that high energy, if you will, is huge.
Right.
And I think you're right.
Right.
I think we have a chance of being one of, the best front courts in the entire country.
I agree. I've looked at these guys. The kid from Arizona did not come to North Carolina to set screens at the 3-point line. He came to post up and get the ball. And when he gets it within striking distance, whoever's under that basket better duck.
Yeah.
That guy will put you on a poster.
He's gonna dunk on you, man, for sure.
So, I mean, I just think that we're going to see North Carolina being the best offensive rebounding team in the country, and field goal percentage is going to go way back up because they're gonna go after people, and they're going to get out and run. They're going to get back to getting out and running.
Yeah, I like it, man.
So,
I mean that's where we need to be.
I like it.
That's where we need to be, Dennis.
You want my starting five?
I want your starting five, my friend. Yes, sir, I do.
Well, already told you. But now that we got the kid from Colorado, I have to tweak it a little bit. I think it's going to be the kid from Colorado, Trimble.
Okay.
The kid from Arizona, Vin, and the freshman.
Preston,
No,
one of the
Drake,
combo
Drake,
guards.
It'll be those five. It'll be Drake Powell and
Okay.
and the freshman.
Because Drake is coming back,
freshman.
right?
So look at that front line. Kid from Arizona, Vin Lubin, and the freshman. And you got Drake. You got the other. Well, I got 6. I got to drop somebody off. So, but I think that right there is going to be a good 5. I like it.
Yeah, I agree. And it's a much bigger team.
Much bigger team.
Much bigger team. And a much better defensive team as well. Yeah.
Yep. And remember, them 2 freshmen can shoot the basketball.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I can't wait to see them stinking throw a couple up, man. I'm excited to see what they can do as well, man. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I like the way it briefs. As we used to say in the Army, man, I like the way that it stinking briefs. The question is can we make it happen? And I like the upside. I definitely like the upside, Dennis. For sure, my friend. For sure. So, you got anything else, brother?
No, that's it, man. Thanks for your time, and let somebody else get in here.
Okay, I appreciate you, Dennis.
All right, man. Take care.
All right, my friend. Yes, sir. My man, Dennis. My man, Dennis, man. I like it. I like it, man. A little bit of positivity. A little bit of stinking positivity going in there, man. Like we've alluded to, bro. I think that I think there's a lot of good things that we've got the pieces, man, to become a pretty daggum good team. A pretty daggum good team. And maybe it's one of those increment step things to where we get back to where we're supposed to get. But when you do look at the roster, I agree with Dennis that we do have an opportunity of being one of the most formidable front courts in the country. Visar, 5-star Caleb Wilson, the 9th overall rated player in the country. The way that Van Allen Lubin played, last year, especially towards the tail end of the season, he was our second leading scorer at like 14.4 points per game. And then, if Zayden High were to additionally, come back to the team, he brings so much energy, and so that's a play. And then you got James Brown. We haven't even talked about James Brown and just his big body as well coming off of the bench, man. So Carolina could have a pretty formidable front court. And, Dennis may be right. We may be that type of team that maybe slows it down just a little bit and throws the ball down low, and we start working inside out again. And, we might see some of these 3-point percentages go up because defenses are having to collapse down on all that size down low, man. So, interesting take, man. Interesting take. I talk to Dennis all the time, so I kind of know where he's coming from. And I appreciate the call, Dennis. I appreciate the call, my friend. So 919-590-3514. Give me a call, man, if you want to let Tar Heel Nation know what you're thinking about this team. We talk about the 2024-2025 season. If you want to give me your thoughts on HD, the guys in the portal that we've got. If you want to talk about the guys that are outgoing. We're still kind of up in the air right now. Exactly what Ian Jackson is going to do. Is Drake Powell going to return? Is Carolina done in the portal? Et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, man, give me a call, 919-590-3514. So you can let Tar Heel Nation know what you're thinking. Don't be stinking shy, man. We'll catch up a couple of comments. See if we get somebody else to call in, man. Carl's saying, glad I'm not the only one having issues with all these guys' new names. Yeah, I got a whole bunch of people were giving me a whole bunch of crap because of the way that I was pronouncing Henry Visar's name. I just figured that it was like, some kind of French thing. Ryan can correct me on my French, man. I already told him I was not a French speaker, if you will. So I got a whole bunch of crap for that. So you were not the only one, Carlton. Lord Bibby in the house, man. So we getting a squad together for next season. It's definitely a lot more promising than I guess what we had last season. 100% Lord Bibby. 100%, man. 100%. Big Kush said yeah, Holloway and Catchings coming this weekend, right? Yeah, that's true. So Catchings is still on the board as well. And I've heard some promising news about him per se, becoming a Tar Heel as well. And then you have Jaron Stevenson, who I don't know if they're going to reach out to him or not because of the relationship that they've built with Catchings. That'll be interesting. But Stevenson is from Chapel Hill, and that's one that we kind of let get out from under us. So that's kind of going to be interesting is seeing how they do with that. As long as the dude doesn't go to stinking Raleigh. I mean, that just that's what would stinking bother me. That's what would stinking bother me. You were on the phone with Russ. Who am I speaking to?
What's up, Russ?
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Good, man. Just chilling.
Just chilling. What are we talking about today?
Basketball season's finally over, and the portal is now working.
And the portal is now working. Is this Nick?
Yeah, it's me, Bo. How you
Yeah, it's
doing?
Nick, man. What's going on, brother?
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing all right, man. So tell me, what you excited about this offseason, Nick, aside from Will Wade becoming your head coach, man? Are you guys gonna start wrecking shop in the triangle?
I wouldn't really call it that.
No.
Really just looking forward to what he puts on the court next year.
Okay.
I'm just seeing what's going on.
Okay. So are you excited? I mean, you excited about what they got going on over there in Raleigh?
Oh, yeah. I mean, every fan in the country right now should be excited. I think we're going to be solid, but we got to see some work on the court, like good offense, good defense, bringing some McNeese guys over as managing, and looking forward to seeing what he puts together. It's going to be way better than Keats ever did.
Yeah. I'm sure you guys are. I'm sure you guys are pretty excited about getting rid of Kevin Keats, man. I wanted him to stay.
Yeah, well aware of that. Typical coach can't do nothing right.
I was a huge
miracle of a lifetime.
I was a huge Kevin Keats fan, man. Huge Kevin
Keats
fan.
I bet y'all were.
Yeah. So y'all got any? Who was
y'all excited about keeping Davis?
Yes. Let me rephrase that. Am I excited about it? I wouldn't say that I'm excited about it. I would say that I'm okay with it. That's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say, this is a make or break year. I definitely think he's got to have some success. I want him to be successful. So am I excited? I would not say I'm excited about it. I would say that I'm okay with it. I'm good with it.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful.
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
I'm hopeful. So
I 100% agree with you right there. It's make or break for Davis. Like, this year is his year to get out of the hot seat. Like, this has been it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree, Nick. I agree. So who do you guys got coming over there to Raleigh, man? Who's what are you hearing? Who's coming in to take
Well,
over?
well, Paul McNeil Jr. staying. We just picked up a 5-star guard, Matthew Abel from former Miami guard, and
Mm-hmm.
a couple of McNeese guys coming down, the former Syracuse guard. I'm not really sure of his name real quick, but we got some great guys coming in. We're going to get to work in the portal, and I know Will Wade's not going to let us down. We will be back in March, hopefully next year, and this program going forward will be better than it was last year, because this year was a total nightmare,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm glad it's over.
I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure, man, especially coming off of the year that you guys had at the end of the season, the year before that. Do you think that Will Wade can break the top two in the triangle? Do you think he can perpetually make state take one of those Duke Carolina spots?
I mean, I definitely think he's going to make some noise being a state coach. Like, yes, we will be a way better team than we have been probably in the past 30 years, but
Okay. Consistently, like
um,
program wise?
Uh, yeah, going forward, but
Yeah.
we'll probably end up seeing there's probably going to be some ups and downs to the season, but at most part, really, he's going to be a great coach overall going forward to preach and teach them how what's up. No more one-on-one defense. We're going to use zone, and we're going to go better defensively in a game and learn to close them and not give up 10 unearned points with under a minute to roll in the game, because that's just not basketball right there.
Yeah. I hear you, man. I hear you. Well, I'm I guess I wish I could say I was excited for you. You know your boy. It's kind of hard to get any kind of sympathy or empathy for the boys over there in Raleigh. But
Yeah,
I
about the same for y'all and the boys in blue, though.
yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. Well, I appreciate you sticking calling in, Nick, man. I hope you're doing well, brother. And you know, as always, go Tar Heels, man.
All righty, right at the other end. Go Pack, brother, for life.
All right, man. You have a good day, Nick.
All right,
All right,
man. Hey,
brother.
catch you later.
All right, later, man. Nick, that's our honorary Wolfpacker, man. So he as you can see, he lets us know what's going on down there in Raleigh. I like Nick, man. Nick's a good dude, man. Nick is a good stinking dude, man. That's my stinking guy. So yeah, man, I mean it is interesting, it's an interesting ordeal what's going on over there in the third part of the stinking triangle. I'm not gonna lie. Um be interesting to see what Wade can can get going over there. Obviously, I don't think that he's gonna perpetually break into the top two of the three in the triangle. I think that that's pretty solidified. As sketchy as Carolina's been, if you will, the past couple of years, man. But yeah, very interesting, man. Very stinking interesting. So, what's up, Simone? How you doing? Demario said Nick on it tonight. Yeah, man. He's just a good old country boy, man. Just a good old stinking country boy, man. I like Nick, man. He's a good dude. He's a good stinking dude. So 919-590-3514, man. We'll hang out for a little bit more. Does anybody if you want, man, give me a call, dude. Let me know what you're thinking about this program, the trajectory, the guys that we brought in. Are you excited? Was there anybody that you wanted Carolina to hit on that they didn't hit on? Does does their misses, if you will, if we can call them misses, does that concern you at all? Um, and just your overall idea of where the program is headed. We've kind of had some varying opinions, if you will, but I think for the most part, there's some positivity brewing. I think that a lot of us are excited about the roster that Tanner and HD are putting together. it's just we gotta kind of we gotta see it actually stinking come together as a stinking unit, man. But I think that you're gonna see a little bit more stability based off of the personnel that we're getting here. Um, and like a couple of the guys alluded to, uh, you know, guys playing hard, guys finishing, a little bit more fire, a little bit more leadership, a little bit more guys holding everybody accountable, and just playing stinking hard, man, from 1 to 5. I think that that's kind of, for the entire game for 40 minutes, not just 20 minutes, for 40 stinking minutes. Carlton said, Russ, do you feel I am reading the room wrong about HD and the GM? I'd have to go back. Let me see. Let me see, Carlton. You gotta put back up here, brother. Trying to figure out how our pick and roll center is gonna turn into a back to the basket guy suddenly. I mean, I don't think that he necessarily has to be a perennial back to the basket guy, Carlton. I think that if we can find somebody that can consistently penetrate, he's the type of dude that you throw it up, bro, when he comes down with it. And I think that, I think maybe in one of the other videos we had alluded to, or we talked about, sometimes he's getting boxed out and everything. His length allows him, he's grabbing rebounds over guys that have good position in him, and he's not going over the back. He's just so daggum long that, he's still able to get boards off the stinking glass. And if he's crashing down, man, and you just throw it up, he's going to go up and get it. And so, I think that that's going to be a huge, huge asset. It's something that I'm really surprised. I wonder if Elliot Cadeau, after he saw that Henry Visar committed to North Carolina, I wonder if he didn't kind of scratch his head and was like, oh, crap. That's the guy that I could have been throwing it up to all stinking year last year. But now he's, up in the Midwest somewhere. So I think that the dude is going to be a huge plus. Huge plus, Carlton, personally, man. I don't know if he's got to be an absolute back to the basket guy per se. My question is do we have that guy that can consistently penetrate and get him those oops, to really capitalize on his length? Because I think that Kyan Evans is a good basketball player. He's more of a facilitator, which, as well as a guy that can shoot from the outside. So, as opposed to a guy that's going to break you down and get into the lane. At least that's just what I've seen from the minimal scouting that I've personally done on him. Preston said Drake Powell, if he returns, Trimble Wilson and 7-footer could be great defensively. I think you're right, Press. I think there's no doubt in my mind that the defensive aspect of this team is going to be greatly improved, man. 100%. 100%, bro. Scott said just can't get behind in so many games like we did last year. Yeah. Yep. Anyone know how Evans is on defense? I'm sure that it's improved. I really didn't, because it's kind of hard unless you sit there and watch his game tapes, because the highlights usually aren't showing a whole bunch of defense unless it's a steal. So I'd have to get back to you on that, Preston. That's our homework, baby. That's our homework, man. Seeing how he guards at the top. But once again, it's less compounded when you have a 7-footer, or a 6'9" guy like Caleb Wilson that's going to defend the rim, right? So even if he's not as good at the top of the key defending and keeping guards out of the paint, we have guys that can protect the rim and erase a couple of shots, man. What's up, Momo? Good to see you, bro. Big Kush said, I see the upside. Momo said, well, Duke lost, so I'm good. 100%, bro. They still are -1 on their daddy. 100 stinker percent, man. John said, when Duke lost it, was Jubilee like when a fever breaks. Yeah, man. Harry said, Russ, were you born with a 5 o'clock shadow? You kind of look like the kind of dude that is wasting his time trying to shave every day. Not a bad thing. No, this is actually not a 5 o'clock shadow. This is just a very short beard. A very short beard. So, no, I do not shave every day. I clean it up. But no, I do not shave. I actually don't shave anymore. I stopped shaving as soon as I got out of the Army. Because that power reminds me of Jordan in that Carolina blue. He does kind of have that kind of, yeah, I agree, bro. How many of the new players are serious dogs, says Melinda. I would say Caleb Wilson is a dog. I would say Caleb Wilson is a dog. I think Henry Visar is a stinking dog. You know, so I think that we got those guys. And then, like I said, man, Zayden High, if he comes back to the roster, everybody knows that Zayden High is a stinking dog. Daryl, what's up, brother? He said, what's Drake's draft prospect? I think that I've seen him late first round, early second round. I think he just got his grade back, so we should be just expecting a decision soon. But I think that I think Drake is coming back, man. I really hope that Drake is coming back. Ramesses. Oh, you're gonna love this guy, Carlton. He's got a haircut, dude. Pass. Dude, he is nowhere to be found right now. Oh, there he is. There he is. Come here. Come here, boy. Come here, boy. What's up, Ramesses? There he is, guys. In all his stinking glory. What's up, boy? What's up, boy? What's up, dude? Okay. Okay. I love you too. Love you too. Okay. All right. Yeah, we got him a haircut, dude. So he's all cleaned up now. They put that stupid blue handkerchief on him though. He's got like a UNC. He's got a Carolina collar. And every time we take him to get his haircut, dude, I think I'm gonna have to talk to those people, man. They keep putting that royal blue crap on him. Matter of fact, I'm gonna take it off after this this daggone show is over, man. Carlton said, "There's the answer to all the UNC dog questions. Only room for one. 100%, man. My stinking guy, dude. That's my stinking guy." Well, if there is nobody else that wants to call into the show, man, I think that we pretty much wrapped it up and tapped this one out, dude. Oh, the ears are so soft, Melinda. So stinking soft. But we've pretty much exhausted this one. I appreciate everybody hanging out, man. We got 56 in the chat. I think at one point it got up to 61. So I appreciate you guys hanging out on a Thursday night. And I appreciate all the patience, dude. We'll try to get a couple more of these in here. Obviously it's the off season, so we'll talk a little basketball when basketball comes up. We'll keep our ears and eyes pinned on the portal. And obviously we're kind of like segueing into football season, which I'm extremely excited about as well, man. So like I said, man, I appreciate you guys hanging out, dude. If you haven't already, do me a solid, like, share, subscribe to the channel, man. You guys already thinking, no, it is a great day to be a Tar Heel, man. And I think that we have some reason to be excited for the roster that has been put together thus far, man. We'll leave it at that. We'll stink and leave it at that. I think that we have a reason to be excited about the roster. Got to see it come together, baby. Just got to see it come together. So like Carlton said, man, like, share, subscribe to the channel. Love you stinking guys, man. And we will catch y'all on the next one, Tar Heel Nation. Go Heels, baby.